Hi again, everybody. Ryan Cater, Director of Golf here at the Edge School. Just going to continue our video series today. I'm talking with a really good friend of mine that I've known for over 30 years. We just figured out ever since my junior days at the National Club of Canada in Woodbridge. Jeff was actually one of the pros at the time, and I've basically known him the better part of my adult life. We've worked together at academies down in Florida and other projects as well. Jeff's had an amazing career in the golf industry. He's full of knowledge. Maybe Jeff, why don't you just give us a brief summary of some of your background?
Sure. Thanks, Ryan. Happy to be with you. And it's a pleasure to talk to you and everybody at the Edge School. I've been a lifelong golf person. I started working at a club when I was 11 years old. I've been a member of the PGA of Canada since I was 18 years old. I'm not going to tell you how long that was, or that is. I was a club professional, loved the sport, loved to teach it. I was at the National Golf Club in Woodbridge where we met, which is widely known as the best course in the country, and worked for a great man there named Ben Kern, who you know very well. And Ben was a junior golf advocate, so that's where I found my passion for junior golf and helping juniors through Ben Kern. And in 2000, to advance forward, in 2006, me and my friend Sean Foley came down here, and Sean is a pretty famous Canadian golf coach, taught Tiger Woods for 5 years, teaches Justin Rose, Danny Willett, Cameron Champ, has taught Hunter Mahan, actually started with Hunter again. So me and Sean are good friends, and we came down here to teach junior golfers for, and we've done that for 15 years, and I'm still doing that. And I know we're going to talk about college placement today. I work for a company called Golf Placement Services, where I'm a college advisor, and I really learned over the course of 15 years down here what it takes to play college golf and how to navigate the muddy waters of getting recruited. So that's what I'm doing now. I still work with Sean Foley, which is great, and we're great friends. But I also do the college placement recruiting thing, which I also love.
For sure. And I think today, one of the best pieces we should talk about is actually specifically the recruitment piece and what the realities. I know, for example, there's a lot of misconceptions about NCAA golf, and I've heard all sorts of crazy things over the years, but with our other academies and having hundreds of kids go through those and all the offers they got, it's really important to place the kid with the proper actual, opportunity for them. There's a lot of misconceptions on where schools are and weather and all sorts of things. But when a kid is truly interested in doing, what are some of the realities need to have, maybe scoring wise for the boys compared to the girls? And what are some of the realities of actually international players getting recruited?
Well, being Canadian, I've had a lot of clients who are Canadian, and I would say, and because we're talking about a school in Canada, I guess I should sort of start there. I think the reality is that Canadians tend to start a little too late in the process, I would say, and there is quite a process involved in getting recruited in the U.S. My belief is that they sort of equate it with going to school in Canada. So, you're going to go to university and you're going to go to the University of Calgary, and I'm going to apply in the fall, and I'm going to go there the next fall. And really that's kind of too late when it comes to being recruited in college golf. It's not impossible to get recruited at the last minute, but starting early, I think, is a key in the whole deal. And there's lots of different levels of college golf. So, I mean, there's Division I, Division II, Division III in the NCAA. There's another association called the NAIA, and all of those are 4-year schools. And then there's also junior college, which would be the equivalent of our community college at home. Yep. And those are 2-year schools. But you can play in community college for a couple of years and then go and play in the NCAA or the NAIA for a couple of years, for example. Exactly. So in 4-year schools, you have 4 years of eligibility. 2-year schools, you can play 1 or 2 years and then go on and finish the rest of your eligibility at one of these other schools. And look, you can, if you're a really good player, I mean, there's schools for you at the highest end of college golf in Division One. And if you're not as good, and maybe you're more of an academic, maybe you want to play Division Three, and the range of scores are pretty massive in terms of what you need to shoot to play in the various play at the various levels. And I would say from a scoring standpoint, I mean, right now, if you're going to play at a good school, there's 5 major conferences in Division One in the NCAA, the SEC, the ACC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, and the Pac-12. You know, you better be able to average under par in junior golf.
For both.
Yeah, like you have to be very, very good. You have to be able to shoot in the 60s, I would say. And, you know, from there, you have to be able to get into the school and have a good relationship with the coach in terms of doing well in an interview. Yep. And it's got to fit, you know, your parents' budget when you go down there. Sure. After major conference golf, I mean, there's mid majors in Division One, which are schools that are not major conference, but still very, very good and very competitive. So, you know, if you're a boy and you can average between sort of par and 74, you know, you got a shot at those schools, and then above 74, sort of everything else. Girls maybe a little bit higher in general, but still very, very competitive from the scoring standpoint.
Sure. What would you say are like the key points or key things that kids really need to focus on, even if they are Canadian or an international, if they really want to get noticed about, you know, not only their ability and their whole package, what are some of the key things they need to really do, the real realities of what they have to do?
Well, the best advice I give anybody, I think, is that, I mean, you got to be as good as you possibly can on the golf course. So getting better and being involved in programs like you're running there, that I've run and continue to run in the US, you know, you've got to be as good as you possibly can be. And if I can relate it to the stock market, college recruiting, your stock price is based on how well you play. So the scores you post, how well you do in school. We call it GPA down here, but I guess it's your average at home. How well you do on your entrance exam or your admissions exams, not admissions, entrance, SAT, ACT. That's a better way to say it. And then how you do in the interview, how well you jive with the coach. And if you're good in all those things, then your stock is high. If you're low in one area, if your GPA is down, your stock is lower for higher academic schools. So really it's doing well in school, preparing well for those tests, and doing well on the golf course, and just being a good kid and a good person. I always tell kids, like, be nice to your golf coach, because coaches are going to call him or her for a recommendation at some point. And that goes a long way to helping you get recruited.
So on that note, why do you think it's so valuable to use a company service like Golf Placement Service?
Well, I think I mentioned earlier, there are muddy waters recruiting, getting recruited in the U.S. And there's a lot of different facets. There's the different levels of golf, like I mentioned. There are recruiting rules. There's materials you need to prepare to get recruited, and we help you with all that. So not only do we have an immense knowledge of the recruiting process, we can help you with your materials. We can help you identify schools that are in range for you. And what I like to do there is have players target schools that are a little bit above where they're at, and then around where they're at, and then maybe a little bit below as a safety net. But we can help you design your blueprint, essentially, is what we call it at GPS, to get recruited, and we can really give you a realistic view of what's going on out there, because we're very in tune with the market. We know a lot of college coaches. We know, who's recruiting and who's not, and how things are going in the market. With COVID, it's particularly important because things have been turned upside down with extended eligibility and some programs shutting down. And a lot of kids on the transfer portal and whatnot. So it just helps to have somebody who knows the process, this complicated process very well, guiding you along the way, so that you can make informed decisions and do the right things. It'll save you a heck of a lot of time and effort, I can tell you that.
And golf placement services, or GPS as we like to short form it, they have a heck of a network of coaches that they actually have relationships with too, and they've built over numerous years. And really, you know, you're only as successful as the kid is too. Like you are successful if they are. So it's a participation as a teamwork. And you know, it's by far a free service by any means, but that's not the point. It's the return on the investment of such things. And if you're not using services like that, other kids are. So it's a competitive market for a limited amount of space and everything like that. The one way I always put it to kids is like, you have to kind of think about it like a job offer or a job interview, right? It's no different. You have to qualify for that job, and you have to be up against competition to do it. So there's a lot of realities too, when it comes down to two kids of equal abilities, and one's American and one's maybe Canadian or otherwise. Coaches are going to favor the American kid. So we literally have a little challenge to also excel and be a little bit better.
Yeah, to your point, I think that they'll favor the better kid too. So preparing kids for that interview, you mentioned that being important, and it's extremely important. It is like a job interview. They're trying to decide whether or not they can spend 4 years with you, right? And if they really want to take you on. So that's something else we do. We help them prepare for interviews by, like, when I'm preparing a student for that, I'm on the phone with them for about an hour before their first call, and I'm quizzing them. I've sent them questions in advance, so they're preparing questions that they want to ask, and then questions that they need to be prepared to answer, and I am quizzing them for an hour, and we do that throughout the process too, just to prepare them for the next one and the next one. So it's quite an ordeal, and it does help to have somebody that knows the process.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, that knowledge to me is like worth every bit of investment. Sorry, we have a little announcement coming on right now. That's okay. But anyways, the part of the program, as you're well aware, and you'll be, you know, a significant part of, is we are planning on spending a good portion of the winter months down in Florida. Can you just speak just to a little bit of the importance of getting out, playing those events, getting seen, possibly getting ranked or points accumulated? That to me is a key part, especially for Canadians, to get down, play in the off season we don't have here, but also get some participation in some of the big tours for juniors.
Yeah, I mean, the schools are in the U.S. for the most part. There's some Canadian schools that participate in U.S. college golf. UVic and UBC are two of them, but for the most part, you know, we're dealing with the U.S. college system. So playing down here against some ranked players certainly goes a long way in terms of their evaluation of you. You've got a much better chance of a coach seeing you at a tournament down here than you would in Canada. And there's different levels of tournaments in the US as well. There's mid-level tours and the AJGA, which all the kids have heard of, I'm sure, is sort of like the PGA Tour, and then some invitationals, whether it's on the AJGA or otherwise, you know, the Orange Bowl, the Bobby Chapman, things like that. Those are like majors. So there's a bit of a pecking order in terms of level. And it's important that kids try and climb up that level. It's like being a professional golfer. You graduate from the Corn Ferry Tour to the PGA Tour and hopefully play in the Masters one day. So we take that approach with players here. We like them to play at the highest level and try and get to that level. And I think, you know, players, the reason me and Sean Foley came down in 2006 is because, you know, our kids that we taught at home were 6 months behind the kids down here every year. And that's quite a mountain to climb, right? So you know, having your players come down and just have the ability to play longer season, and then getting exposure potentially to coaches through playing in some ranked events down here is a great thing for them. And they'll really see how good the players are, because Florida is a golf hotbed, and the average player in Florida is better than the average player at home. I can assure you that. So
Yeah. Or
it'll show them how good they need to be.
Yeah, exactly. And if you are top dog here, you're going to have equal competitors or better down there. It's just a reality that they have to accept. And that's also can be used as a good motivator too. So, challenge yourself, go play against the best of them and get down there, right? And I find like Canadian kids,
how you get better.
Yeah, and Canadian kids in general, like some of the ones we worked with at some of the academies down there, they come down with a slightly different mentality. They're competitive and they might have played hockey or other sports. And the Canadian kids almost have a really good mental edge on things. So it's kind of an interesting thing to see this.
They do, and Canadian kids have a very good reputation in general. I remember the first academy we were at. We had a lot of Canadian kids there, and we got complimented all the time on how well behaved our kids were, and I think that's a good, kudo to the parents that we have at home. Yeah, I mean that Canadian kids are well liked, and they do have a lot of grit. I can remember more than a few times in cold conditions down here, because it does get cold in Florida in tournaments, how the Canadian kids are in shorts and a t-shirt and the Florida kids are melting or they're collapsing because it's so cold, not melting.
I'm telling
that's important. If you're going to play college golf in the northern US, I mean, you need to be able to play in cold weather in the fall and the spring. So that's an important factor for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I've told the kids, rain or shine, we're going. Unless there's lightning, we're out there. So you
guys will come in March. In March, is that correct? That doesn't rain much.
April.
Yeah. Even then, it rains a lot in the summer here, but it's other than that, it's pretty good. And March and April are very nice months. So,
well, Jeff, you're one of the few guys on the whole planet. You might be the only one that would I actually personally would take golf lessons with and have. So you're one of the few that can actually tinker with my swing. So I really am excited to get the kids down there. I mentioned to Ian yesterday and everyone here in the program that's interested that our first plan to get down there is March break of next year. Just due to COVID restrictions, that's the best we're going to plan right now. But it's going to be super exciting to get you guys down there. So thanks a lot for everything.